The tension was already thick in the air, but nobody expected it to explode like this. Boosie, known for speaking his mind, finally snapped, and it was over rumors swirling about Kodak Black's prison cell. Social media had been buzzing for days, whispers turning into viral speculation. Was Kodak living it up behind bars, or was someone feeding lies to stir drama? Boosie couldn't sit back any longer. What started as a few casual comments quickly escalated into a full-blown confrontation, leaving fans stunned and the internet on fire. People who thought they knew the story were in for a rude awakening, because when Boosie speaks, he doesn't hold back. This isn't just a feud, it's a collision of egos, reputations, and untold truths finally coming to light. Every word, every gesture, every look in this clash tells a story of tension, betrayal, and raw emotion that no one saw coming. And while some fans were entertained, others felt the heat of the situation, because this fight exposes more than just rumors about a prison cell. It exposes the fragility of trust, the cost of fame, and the explosive potential when two influential voices collide. You're about to witness every shocking moment, every jaw-dropping reaction, and the real reason behind why Boosie went off on Kodak. Buckle up, things got ugly, and the fallout is just beginning. The room felt electric before anyone even spoke. Phones were out, cameras rolling, and social media already buzzing about what was about to go down. Boosie sat in the studio, his eyes fixed on the screen, scrolling through comment after comment about Kodak Black's supposed life behind bars. At first, he tried to laugh it off. "Man, they willed in again," he muttered, but the laughter didn't last. Every post, every tweet, every video clip feeding the rumors felt like salt on an open wound. Boosie had always been vocal, sure, but this felt personal. This wasn't just about Kodak, it was about respect, truth, and the lines people shouldn't cross when talking about someone else's life, especially when that life was already complicated. It started slowly. A few followers tagged him in a post claiming Kodak had a VIP cell, a cushy setup that painted him as living it up while others suffered. Boosie shook his head, his jaw tightening. "Nah, they lyin', for real," he said under his breath, but the anger simmered beneath the surface. Every minute he scrolled, the more enraged he became. He wasn't just angry for himself, he was angry for the culture, for the streets, for everyone who had seen people's names dragged through the mud over lies. And then it hit him. Someone had to speak up. Someone had to put the record straight. That someone was him. Boosie picked up the phone and called Kodak directly. The conversation was tense from the first second. "Man, what's all this talk about your cell?" Boosie demanded, his voice low but firm. Kodak tried to brush it off, laughing nervously, but Boosie wasn't having it. Nah. This ain't no joke. People trying to twist your story, man. You know how it go. You gotta respect the truth, Boosie said, leaning forward, his fingers drumming on the table. Every word carried weight. Every pause was calculated. Meanwhile, on the outside, the internet exploded. Clips of Boosie's reaction went viral within minutes. Fans were divided, some cheering him on for defending the truth, others criticizing him for overreacting. But Boosie didn't care about the noise. He cared about clarity. He cared about respect. And he knew that if he stayed silent, the rumor would fester, growing bigger and uglier. This was about accountability, and he was ready to take it on himself. In the studio, tensions escalated. Boosie's demeanor shifted from stern to fiery. "I ain't trying to make enemies, but I ain't trying to let folks lie on you neither. You feel me?" he said, locking eyes with Kodak through the video call. Kodak nodded slowly, sensing the seriousness behind Boosie's anger. It wasn't just a casual scolding, it was a warning. This was the kind of moment where reputations were made or destroyed, where truth collided with perception, and Boosie was determined to make sure the scales tipped in the right direction. The back and forth continued for nearly an hour. Boosie laid out everything he'd seen online, the posts, the comments, the videos, and the ways it could damage Kodak's reputation if left unchecked. Kodak listened, occasionally defending himself, but Boosie wasn't buying any excuses. Every time Kodak tried to laugh it off, Boosie shot him a look that could cut through steel. "Man, this ain't funny," he said. "People already think you live in a certain way. They see a name and a rumor and believe everything. You gotta nip it in the bud. As the conversation wound down, Boosie made his point clear. This wasn't just about Kodak Black. It was about integrity, honesty, and the message being sent to the streets. When rumors like this spread unchecked, it reinforced the idea that fame equals immunity, that you could live behind bars and the world wouldn't care. Boosie knew better. He knew the stakes, and he wasn't about to let misinformation take root on his watch. Outside the private conversation, the public was losing it. Clips of Boosie's reaction, overlaid with dramatic captions, were everywhere. Fans dissected every word, every inflection, every gesture. Social media threads spiraled into chaos, with people debating who was right, who was wrong, and who had the real story. The tension wasn't just in the moment, it had become a cultural flashpoint. This was bigger than two rappers. This was about accountability, perception, and power. Boosie's anger didn't come from nowhere. He had been through his own battles in the spotlight, watching as rumors and false narratives threatened to define him. He understood the damage misinformation could do, and he refused to let it happen to anyone else. When you've been in the game as long as Boosie, you learn that silence isn't always golden. Sometimes, silence allows lies to grow, and that growth can be devastating. As the night wore on, Boosie recorded a series of statements for his social media, laying out his thoughts in blunt, unfiltered terms. "I ain't here to start beef," he said in one clip, "but I ain't watchin' lies spread on my people neither. Y'all hear me? Facts over rumors, always." Each clip was shared, reposted, and dissected, fueling the fire further. The drama wasn't contained, it was exploding across platforms, each post driving more attention to the issue at hand. By the end of the night, one thing was clear: Boosie had drawn a line. Rumors about Kodak Black's prison situation would no longer go unchecked. Whether people agreed with his approach or not, there was no denying the impact. The streets were talking, the fans were talking, and for the first time in days, the narrative was starting to shift. Boosie had taken control, and the story would never be the same. Even after the clips went viral and debates raged online, Boosie stayed focused. He knew that this wasn't about winning followers or trending topics. It was about truth, about respect, about making sure that what really happened didn't get buried under speculation, lies, and half-truths. And in that moment, the room felt charged with the kind of energy that only comes from confronting falsehoods head-on, raw, real, and impossible to ignore. By sunrise, the fallout was in full effect. Social media feeds were flooded with reactions, fans were sharing opinions, and influencers were weighing in. But Boosie didn't flinch. He had made his point, and he had done it in a way that demanded attention. This was his warning to anyone who thought rumors could define reality. The truth has a voice, and it's not afraid to speak up. And while the chaos simmered outside, inside that studio, Boosie leaned back, letting the intensity settle. He had done what he came to do. The message was out. The lines were drawn. And for now, at least, the narrative was in his hands. The morning after, the tension hadn't eased. Social media had transformed overnight into a storm zone. Screenshots of Boosie's videos circulated on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, every platform feeding the frenzy. Fans debated, memes emerged, influencers jumped in, and the comments section became a battlefield. Every post seemed to spark another argument. Was Boosie overreacting? Was Kodak at fault for letting the rumors spread? Or was the truth as simple as Boosie claimed? Someone had to defend the facts? Inside the studio, Boosie watched it all unfold with a mixture of frustration and satisfaction. He wasn't here for clout. He was here to set the record straight. And he knew that once a fire like this starts online, it can't easily be put out. But controlling the narrative? That was his specialty. He called his team over, gathered the footage from last night, and started planning the next move. This wasn't about cancel culture or internet drama, it was about accountability. Boosie's phone buzzed constantly, messages pouring in from fans, peers, and even journalists asking for commentary. Every ping was a reminder that this story had taken on a life of its own. Kodak, meanwhile, was feeling the pressure. The rumors weren't just swirling, they were impacting him personally. Calls from family, friends, and his management team reminded him that perception in the streets and on social media could be as damaging as any legal trouble. Kodak sat in his home, scrolling through endless threads, each one making him question how a simple rumor about a prison cell had exploded into a full-blown crisis. He picked up the phone and dialed Boosie. "Yo, man, I appreciate you looking out, but this is crazy," Kodak said when Boosie answered. "Crazy?" Boosie shot back, his voice steady and firm. "This ain't crazy, man. This is reality. People believe what they see. If we let it ride, it's gonna stick, and then your name's twisted forever. You hear me?" Kodak sighed. "I get it, but I don't want to fight. I don't want to make it worse." Boosie leaned back, rubbing his temples. "It ain't about fighting. It's about respect. And respect doesn't come from silence. It comes from standing up, saying what's true, and making sure the streets know. They trying to paint a picture of you ain't living." While the two rappers negotiated the tone and content of their response, the public drama continued to grow. Memes depicting Kodak in a luxurious prison cell went viral, videos remixing Boosie's rant spread, and hashtags began trending. Nationwide, hashtag Boosie snaps, hashtag Kodak rumors, hashtag truth over lies. Every time Boosie posted a clarifying clip, the rumor mill spun faster. The situation had reached that critical social media tipping point where every reaction fueled the next. By midday, the story had drawn attention from journalists and news outlets. Articles speculating about the rumor's origin, analyzing Boosie's response, and weighing Kodak's silence flooded the internet. Some commentators framed it as a classic celebrity feud. Others emphasized the importance of defending reputations in a digital age. But for Boosie and Kodak, this wasn't about headlines, it was about survival. The streets and the fans didn't forget, and a false narrative could have lasting consequences. Boosie knew he had to escalate his efforts strategically. He decided to go live, directly addressing the rumors. "Y'all see what they doin'? Y'all see how easy it is to twist somebody's story," he shouted into the camera, his intensity unmistakable. "Kodak Black ain't in no VIP cell. He ain't living it up while the system failin'. That's fake news. That's disrespectful. And we ain't having that." The live session exploded. Thousands of viewers tuned in, comments poured in, and clips from the session were shared across platforms. The response was immediate. Some applauded Boosie for his authenticity, others criticized the confrontation as over the top. But the conversation had shifted. The narrative wasn't just about Kodak's supposed cell anymore, it was about who would speak for truth when rumors threatened reality. Boosie had claimed that role. Meanwhile, Kodak's team worked behind the scenes to manage the fallout. Interviews were scheduled, social media statements were drafted, and legal advisors monitored the potential consequences. Kodak himself felt a weight he hadn't anticipated. Boosie's intervention had bought him a moment to clarify things, but it also placed him at the center of a cultural storm. He realized that controlling perception in the age of viral media wasn't just about denying falsehoods, it was about actively shaping the conversation, and that required precision, courage, and timing. The tension didn't end with the live session. By evening, rumors about the origin of the prison cell story began to surface. Some claimed it had started as a joke, others said it was a deliberate smear. Boosie and Kodak analyzed each possibility, trying to trace the rumor's roots. It became clear that the story had gained traction because it played into existing narratives, stereotypes about rappers, misconceptions about incarceration, and a fascination with wealth and status. Boosie shook his head. "Man, they trying to make a headline out of a lie," he muttered. And the sad part? People believe it. As the night wore on, the pair mapped out a plan for a joint response, clarifying videos, interviews with trusted media outlets, and controlled social media posts. Their goal wasn't just to debunk the rumor, it was to show solidarity, to demonstrate that when false narratives spread, there are voices ready to defend truth. It was a delicate balance. Push too hard, and the story becomes about drama. Stay too quiet, and misinformation hardens. They needed to hit the sweet spot: authority, clarity, and authenticity. By the next morning, the plan was in motion. Boosie's team coordinated with Kodak's social media manager to release a series of statements. Boosie's clips were fiery and direct. Kodak's were measured but firm. Fans reacted instantly. Some applauded the duo for taking control, while others dissected every word for hidden meanings. But the key objective was achieved. The rumors were no longer dictating the conversation. Boosie and Kodak were. In the streets, the response was palpable. Word of Boosie defending Kodak spread quickly, reinforcing Boosie's reputation as a protector and truth-teller. People in the community, long accustomed to seeing misinformation spiral out of control, respected the move. It wasn't just about the internet, it was about setting an example. Boosie had turned a potentially damaging situation into a statement of principle. But not everyone was satisfied. A few trolls continued to push the prison cell narrative, posting doctored images and misleading captions. Boosie responded publicly, calling them out by name. "Y'all trying to stir up drama for clout," he said in a live broadcast. "Stop playin'. Facts over lies. Always." The intensity in his voice made it clear. The line had been drawn, and he wasn't stepping back. Kodak, too, stepped forward. In a series of interviews, he emphasized the dangers of false narratives, explaining how rumors could affect mental health, reputations, and careers. "People don't think about the impact of lies," he said. "One story can follow you for years if nobody speaks up. We gotta stand for the truth, period." The storm had shifted slightly. The viral misinformation that had threatened Kodak's name had been challenged, clarified, and countered. The online battlefield remained active, but the voices of Boosie and Kodak had carved out space for truth. Fans were talking not just about the rumor, but about accountability, about defending reputation, and about the power of speaking out when it matters most. The stage was set for the final chapter. The drama wasn't over, it was far from it, but now the players had positioned themselves strategically. Boosie had proven he wasn't afraid to confront falsehoods head-on. Kodak had stepped into the light, claiming his narrative and asserting control. And the public? They were watching, learning, and, in some cases, choosing sides. The next phase would be about resolution or escalation. Social media trends are fickle, and the story could shift at any moment. But one thing was certain, Boosie and Kodak had taken ownership of the narrative. Rumors had met resistance, lies had met confrontation, and truth had a loud, unmistakable voice. And in that voice, the streets, the fans, and the culture would continue to hear the lessons: defend your name, challenge misinformation, and never underestimate the power of a voice willing to stand up for the truth. By the time the sun rose the following morning, the digital battlefield had shifted, but the war wasn't over. Boosie and Kodak had weathered the initial storm, but lingering tension remained. Fans were still debating, trolls were still active, and the rumor mill was relentless. But now, for the first time, the narrative was under control, not dictated by viral speculation, but actively shaped by the people at the center of the story. Boosie convened his team early, pacing back and forth in the studio. "Listen," he said, voice taut with urgency, "we ain't done. The internet don't forget, and these jokers gonna try to twist it again. We gotta finalize our message, make it unshakable." His manager nodded, taking notes. Clips from previous live sessions had already been compiled into a polished montage. Interviews were scheduled with trusted outlets, and social media was primed to push a clear, consistent narrative. Every angle was covered: accountability, clarification, and authenticity. Boosie knew that in today's culture, perception could make or break a career. Kodak, meanwhile, was grappling with the emotional weight of the situation. Sitting in his home studio, he scrolled through messages, some supportive, some vicious. The rumors had cast him in a false light, and though Boosie had defended him fiercely, Kodak understood that public perception could shift at any moment. He took a deep breath, reminding himself why he had chosen to speak up. This wasn't about ego, it was about truth. The first interview aired mid-afternoon. Kodak spoke with measured calm, recounting the events clearly, addressing the prison cell rumors directly, and expressing gratitude to Boosie for stepping in. "I didn't want the story to spiral," Kodak said. It's one thing to be famous, but it's another to have people spreading lies about your life. Facts matter. His words resonated, garnering praise from fans and journalists alike. The story was no longer about drama. It was about accountability, truth, and the power of speaking out. Boosie's response came shortly after in a live session. He was fiery, unapologetic, and relentless. Y'all saw what they tried to do, right? Spread lies, make it look like Kodak was living some fantasy in a prison cell. That ain't real. And if I see it again, I ain't waitin', I'm gonna shut it down. Comments and reactions poured in instantly. Thousands of shares and reposts amplified the message, solidifying Boosie as a defender of truth in the public eye. Even as the main narrative stabilized, there were ripple effects. Industry insiders weighed in, speculating on how the confrontation might impact future collaborations, reputations, and credibility. Social media analysts noted a spike in engagement around both artists, but the focus had shifted from rumor-mongering to respect for their handling of the situation. Fans expressed admiration for Boosie's protective stance and Kodak's willingness to address the issue head-on. It was clear that, while the drama had started as a viral spark, it had transformed into a broader conversation about authenticity, accountability, and influence in hip-hop culture. In private, Boosie and Kodak reviewed the fallout. The conversation was candid. "This is bigger than us," Boosie said. "It's about showing that when falsehoods fly, people gotta step up. Otherwise, nobody learns." Kodak nodded, absorbing the truth of it. This incident wasn't just a moment. It was a lesson in media literacy, public perception, and the power dynamics within celebrity culture. As the days progressed, the rumors slowly lost momentum. New headlines, new controversies, and fresh viral moments pushed it off the trending charts. But the impact of Boosie's intervention and Kodak's transparency endured. Fans continued to reference the saga, often highlighting how it demonstrated the importance of controlling one's narrative in an age dominated by social media. Beyond the immediate fallout, both artists reflected on the personal lessons learned. Boosie realized the weight of influence, how one person's voice could counteract weeks of misinformation. Kodak recognized the necessity of timely action, of owning his story rather than letting it be defined by others. Together, they had demonstrated a rare synergy, one defending, one clarifying, both committed to truth. The story's closure didn't come with a dramatic showdown or a viral apology. It came quietly, through consistent messaging, direct communication with fans, and unrelenting authenticity. By the end of the saga, the prison cell rumors had been neutralized, not by argument, not by aggression, but by strategic and credible storytelling. The lesson was clear. In the modern era, controlling misinformation requires more than denial. It demands presence, strategy, and authority. Yet, even as the dust settled, the cultural conversation lingered. Analysts discussed the implications for celebrity accountability, the role of social media in shaping narratives, and the ethical responsibilities of public figures to respond to false information. Podcasts dissected the incident for weeks, interviews referenced it as a case study in reputation management, and fan forums debated the long-term consequences for both artists. Boosie and Kodak had unintentionally sparked a larger discussion about truth, influence, and responsibility in the digital age. Meanwhile, Boosie didn't let the victory go to his head. He continued engaging with his community, advocating for honesty and transparency, and reminding fans that protecting truth wasn't just about fame, it was about integrity. Kodak, too, found a renewed sense of purpose. The episode had been a wake-up call, reinforcing the importance of vigilance in public life and inspiring him to take a more proactive role in shaping his public persona. Ultimately, the saga concluded not with chaos, but with clarity. The prison cell rumor was dead, replaced by a narrative of empowerment and responsibility. Boosie had proven that one voice, wielded with precision and courage, could challenge the falsehoods proliferating across the internet. Kodak had shown that addressing misinformation directly and thoughtfully could reclaim personal credibility and protect legacy. Together, they had transformed a potential disaster into a blueprint for handling public crises in the digital age. The lessons extended beyond the celebrity world. Fans, observers, and aspiring artists took note. Reputation matters, truth matters, and action matters. Silence can be interpreted as consent, and misinformation can define lives if left unchecked. Boosie and Kodak's handling of the situation became a template for others facing similar storms. By the time the saga fully receded from the public eye, both artists had emerged stronger, wiser, and more deliberate. Boosie's reputation as a protector and advocate for truth was solidified. Kodak's credibility had been restored, and he had demonstrated that humility, transparency, and timely action could counteract even the most viral falsehoods. The incident would be remembered not for the rumor itself, but for how it was addressed, with strategy, courage, and unwavering commitment to the facts. And so, as the final posts faded from trending charts and the internet moved on, Boosie and Kodak stood as a testament to the power of authenticity and decisive action. The story of the prison cell rumors, once explosive and uncontrolled, had become a case study in managing narrative, defending truth, and navigating the treacherous waters of celebrity culture. Lessons had been learned, respect had been earned, and the saga closed, not with victory in the traditional sense, but with the more profound victory of truth reclaimed. The digital storm had passed. The lesson remained. In a world where rumors spread faster than facts, courage, strategy, and authenticity are the ultimate tools. Boosie and Kodak had wielded them, leaving a lasting imprint on fans, peers, and the culture at large.